So if you're at my age and you remember as a youngster, ever seeing like the CBS special presentation, um, whenever that came on, you knew that it was probably time for a Charlie Brown special. Well, this is one of those, and so we have a special presentation tonight. I'm following up on a video. I'm kind of extending something by Pedro, Mr. Bet on You, Santiago, and he did a video here earlier today about basically saying that we got people out there who are saying that the gig economy is dying, that the gig economy is going under, and it deserves to die. Things of that nature. Well, if you follow me here for the past couple of days as I've launched this thing, you know that I don't believe this is true. What this is, though, is people who didn't go about it the right way, being embittered by not getting the results that they didn't, then by not getting the results that they wanted. And I think was able to kind of narrow it down here a little bit. And a lot of people got into this delivering and driving bit because they believed it was easy money. Which in the boom days of when these companies began, it kind of was, particularly for food delivery during the pandemic. You know, you just jump in your car, you just go, and the money comes flowing in. It doesn't work that way, at least not anymore. And if you've seen the first few episodes, you know there's things that you have to do, you have to pay attention to. You have to monitor, you have to watch. There's decisions that you have to make while you're out there in order to, which will determine whether or not you're actually making any real money doing this or not. So I think these are people who are embittered, who got into this thinking that it's just going to be jump in the car and just start driving around and the money's just going to come cascading in. It's going to, it's just going to rain on you and you don't have to do anything to do it. Not true. And so these people think that, the gig economy is dying. It deserves to die. Crash and burn. But I would actually argue that the overall status of these companies is much better than it was several years ago. So Uber, for example, was initially founded by Travis Kalanick, and the company lost money hand over fist for the first few years with him in charge. Lyft, same thing under Logan Green and John Zimmer. What these men were able to do, though, in order to keep things going, is they were masters at raising capital. Particularly Kalanick was really good at just raising money left and right hand over fist, under the promise that at some point these companies would go public and they'd be able to cash in on their shares based on however much they've contributed in capital to startup fees. Now, both of those companies, DoorDash, etc., were all successful in doing this. So they eventually got to the point where they were able to have an IPO or a stock offering, and they're no longer in the business of trying to raise capital because all those companies are profitable now. So I would argue that if the gig economy companies were ever vulnerable, it was in the early years. It was in the 2010s when this whole thing was brand new. That is when if these companies were gonna crash, it would have happened. It certainly ain't happening now. With these companies, just publicly traded companies, and showing profits, and they have done so for a few years now. So I think it's wishful thinking by very bitter people who thought that it would just be automatically easy money. It no longer is. It was for a short while at the very beginning, but it no longer is. So these are people whose expectations were never level set correctly. It simply would just be a matter of jumping in the car and you get rich. Not quite true. You got to pay, as I've said before, you got to pay attention to expenses. You got to pay attention to which orders you select. You got to pay attention to how much time that you're spending out there, and you also have to pay attention to which restaurants will turn you around quickest, and even things like cell reception at the drop-off points. You want to make sure that you have technology. Your technology is going to work for the drop-off, so you don't get hit with contract violations. So there it is. Basically, what if I told you that the gig companies are not dying? They're doing, well enough. And at the same time, these statements, as Pedro said in his video, are being told by very embittered people whose expectations were never set correctly, who never understood how this works and how you generate profits off of your activities. They're just embittered, they're sour, and they want to pitch a fit over it. Well, you get what you give in almost anything in life, and this is no different. So call it a night on this one for now. This is just your last minute special presentation. I just caught Pedro's video and I thought I would add on to it just a smidgen bit with a couple of my own thoughts. We're going to call it good for now, and I will see you all tomorrow. I do have some other episodes basically in the can right now, if you will, ready to go. So I will see you then. Peace out, homies.